Profiles in Horizon are a way of storing pretty much any kind of information you want about the contacts in your database. In other systems, they may just be called custom fields. In Horizon, we group custom fields into what are called profiles. So to show you how they can be used and how they can be useful, we'll use an example where we're going to model whether someone is or isn't an existing customer, so a common use case. So to start, let's take a look at how our contact database is already set up. So we'll go into contacts, and here we can see we've got a guy called Pete Thompson in our marketing database directory. So let's take a look at his contact record. So we can see we're storing his name, we've got some locations, some media types, but as well as all the standard Horizon data, we've also got these three profiles. A profile called customer details with some custom fields to do with gender, waist size, inside leg, a set of checkboxes for the brands that Pete likes. We've got a profile here for lead details, which maybe stores information about where this lead came from to come into Horizon. And we've got a profile called survey with some information here which may have been captured, let's say, through a Horizon publication, maybe a survey that was run through Horizon to capture that data. So that's good. But what we'll do first of all is show you how we can extend those profiles to store whether or not someone's an existing customer through a single tick box. So let's go into admin and then go into profiles. So here we can see all the existing profiles we have within Horizon, and again you can set up whichever profiles and custom fields you want. So we'll go into our customer details profile that exists already, and here are the fields we had: the gender, waist size, inside leg, and so on. What we're going to do is add a new field to that to store whether someone is an existing customer. So we'll call it existing customer. We'll say that field is going to be a checkbox list. We're not going to make it mandatory. What we will do is change the order to number 1, so this field appears above any other custom fields in that profile. And then we'll add the option, which is a single value of yes. So checkbox lists can have one or more values, and you can check 0 to all of them. So we'll click on add to add that custom field. We'll click on save to save the new profile definition, and that's done. So if we go back into contacts now and see how that's updated the information we're storing about contacts in our marketing database, we'll go back into Pete's record, and we can see that now we have this new field, existing customer, in his customer details profile. So that's straight away usable, and we'll check it to say yes, and we'll save his contact record. And then just to demonstrate how that information can be used, we'll start by doing, say, an advanced search, and you can see that if I now select customer details, that profile, here's my new custom field, existing customer, and I can do a search for records where that value is yes, click on search, and it brings back Pete's data. Or equally, I could do is not yes. So equally, you could have created a, let's say, a rule group to create a segment which is worked out in real time whenever you need it to, again, distinguish whether someone is or isn't an existing customer. And you could then use that rule group segment in your outbound email campaigns and so on. So that's great, but it's quite a simple case, and it may be that it's better to identify whether someone's an existing customer or not based on whether they've purchased from us. And so what I'm going to show you now is how we can use data grid profiles in Horizon to do just that. So let's go back into admin, and what we're going to do now is to create a new profile, and we're going to say, so click add new profile, and we're going to say this profile is a data grid. So think of data grids like a spreadsheet. So the columns in that data grid are the custom fields, and you can have one or more rows of data for each of your contacts. So let's call this profile purchases. And typically you'd set up this profile and then pull the data into it from, let's say, your e-commerce or subscription billing system, something like that. But we're going to set it up and then just add some information manually. So the information we're going to add or store in this profile are things like the purchase date. So let's say that's going to be a date custom field, again, not mandatory. We're going to add another field for the item that was purchased. And we'll make that a text box because it's going to store some text data. We'll add a third field, which is the quantity, and we'll say that's going to be a number with a value between, let's say, 1 and 100. And finally, let's add a fourth custom field to our profile, which is the total amount, and again that will be a number with a value between say 0 and 1000. So add, we'll click save, and we've then saved out that data grid profile called purchases. So we haven't told Horizon yet where we want to use that profile. So to do that we go into directories. Let's select our marketing database directory and we'll add that profile to it. So this is telling Horizon that anyone who's stored in that directory is going to have available to them this purchases profile, so we can start storing that data against them. Okay, so let's go back into contacts and select Pete Thompson's record again. So now we can see that at the bottom of his contact record we've got this new profile called purchases, and because it's a data grid profile we can see we can add rows of data to it. So let's start doing that. So let's say today we bought some jeans, one item, and $64.99. And because it's a data grid we can add more than one row of data. So let's say again last week we bought some socks, let's say some green socks. We got 5 pairs of those for £25. Okay, so as I said, this typically would be pulled in through a data integration from your e-commerce or subscription billing system or whatever. And it could be any kind of data. It doesn't have to be purchases. It could be someone's subscriptions, books they've got out on loan, whatever matters and is relevant to your business. So let's just click on save. So that's done. So as we did with the checkbox value, we can again do things like an advanced search where we could then say, okay, let's take a look based on our purchases data at item purchased, let's say contains the word sock, and do a search, and there we brought back Pete Thompson's record, because if we look at that, sure enough, on his profile information he had purchased some green socks. So we could also then do things, and again we're looking at modeling whether someone's an existing customer, so we could do that based on the count of purchases they have. We could say, okay, well if that's greater than 0, that might signify that he's an existing customer because he's purchased from us in the past. Or we could do things which may be more accurate because we don't want to maybe include our lapsed customers. We could say things like purchase date is in the last, let's say 1 year, and we could do a search on that, and that will bring back all the contacts who've purchased something from us in the last year. So again, you could build a rule group from this to build a real-time segmentation based on purchase behavior to identify whether someone is or isn't a current or lapsed customer. So there we go, that's profiles.